Hey, good morning. I'm Mr. Kraus. I guess this could be good afternoon or good evening to you as well. I'm sitting here wondering how you're doing with your CQT. So that's the point of this. If you're getting rolling, especially if you're a freshman, this is a great video. So here it is, the beginning of the school year, and we're reading about this rich guy who kills people on his private island. And then unassumingly, his counterpart shows up, and what he wishes for is what does General Zaroff wish for? Someone that is equal to his skill, his mastery. Okay, and so we had talked about how to set this up, right, with quote marks. And what is this, right? This is the Steele handout, and the purpose of this video is to navigate from the Steele handout back into your back into your CQT. So you can take this quote, if I could ignore the attempts to help me edit here. I'm an English teacher, doesn't like all the spacing, I assume. And so I'm going to grab this, and this is the quote, right? This is part of CQT. And so I go down in my down in my CQT, and I copy and paste the quote, right? And then I need quote marks, right? So the menacing look in his eyes did not change. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add that this is Connell, and I remember that this is on page 6. Actually, let's confirm that. Control F, menacing, and it's going to pop up a couple places, but here it is. So, yeah, page 6. So I was right in my memory. I go way back down to our CQT handout here, scrolling fast. And so what's the first thing I'm doing here? I'm copying my quote. I'm copying the work I did on the previous day. Get that one pesky period at the very end. The menacing look in the eyes of, and I think we had talked about this in your class, of Ivan, so we can use square brackets and add something for clarity, right? Does not change the original meaning. And there's that citation, there's the quote marks. Just a friendly note in this box, if you're doing dialogue, make sure that you have triple quote marks, right? And then the examples are down here. There's triple for dialogue. What is dialogue? That's characters talking out loud. So that would be step 1 in your video. What would be step 2? Maybe let's jump into our thesis right here. And it says right here, guys, it says character and trait plus reason. So our character is, let's see if it'll let me type, Ivan possesses an intimidating nature. And then the reason is something like because, and you should have several synonyms for because at my class at this point. And it's because is also going to be really short. So make this quick. Because he scares anyone at the door. I don't know but again, what is that because clause? Just a quick side note here, as long as I don't mess up my Google Doc, my Word doc. That because relates to, I scroll down, all my spacing is going to be a little messed up, but you guys get the idea, to my tie-in, right? To my tie-in. I'm circling over this number 2, 1, 2, and 3. All right, it doesn't really matter what you do next, but for the purpose of this video, I'll jump right into context. What occurs, so I'm gonna add a word here, summarize, right? What occurs just before your quote in the story. So in the story, comma, and then I'm going to go back up to the text. And so there's my quote. You know, maybe I highlighted it and noted it as an annotation as we were reading. And, you know, the bleak darkness of the sea, and then, you know, Rainsford spots the mansion, the lofty structure, the palatial chateau. He thought it was a mirage. He thought it might be a whole city. He wakes up on the island. So I'm just refreshing my memory. Out of the snarl of beard, 2 small eyes regarded Rainsford. Rainsford says, hey, don't be alarmed. And then the menacing look does not change. Okay, so when I go into my context, I want to summarize basically what's on the page ahead of us or before the quote. And I want to be very careful to stop at my quote. I do not want to summarize the entire story. Again, just what occurs right before the story. And so here we are with our context box. Readers find Rainsford alive how about comma fanboys, and and he is on ship, gotta have that dash, trap island. He notes bullets and boot prints. So he knows there are people on the island. He finds the house, or rather mansion. He knocks on the door. All right, so I probably could have saved you guys that little brief bit there while I was typing, but let's review. Find was, right? Notes, bunch of comma fanboys in there. If I was you, I would highlight them. And we get all this done. There's a couple of things here. Was it present tense? Yes. Did I use a literary term? No. So Ivan is the classic henchman, but of course Rainsford is the main character or protagonist. So there's my literary term. Then I need a signal phrase, and a signal phrase tells readers that the quote's about to come. If you guys would do it in blue and underline it and highlight it, all that good stuff, so I don't miss it, I would give you extra credit on these handouts. So let me come up with a signal phrase. And so here is the narrator, right? That's who tells us this. If it was Rainsford saying, don't be alarmed, then Rainsford says. Well, don't say says, guys. So take a look at this. We don't want to use this, right? We want to make sure that we're not using says. That's a bad word, okay? So let's not use that. Instead, let's take a look at the rest of this. And you have a whole bunch of options. Let me change the color for you guys that are, let's see, well, let me do this. Let's do it like that. There we go. So if you see right here, you have the narrator, and then you have some verb options: explain, notes, and describes. That's it. You end always, I don't know if you guys can see it, you always end with a comma, and that's beautifully done right there. So that's good. That's got present tense, literary term, and underline the signal phrase. Next is this tie-in, right? And good news is you already have a head start on this. So rest assured here, guys, what you have is some good work that your class did. Now, if this example isn't exactly the same, it's all right. We focused on looks. We did he's intimidating. This is a really good trick. You're going to see it appear. I looked up the word intimidating. You're going to see language in here that relates to the definition. I think I did both. I did frightening and threatening in that particular class. And so what is this, right? We just grabbed this, and we talked about this. This is number 2 in your tie-in. So you're going to copy it, keyboard shortcut, Control-C, right? And I go all the way down to my tie-in, and I look right here, and I just hit Control-V. And then what is this? This is the so what, and did I use because? Why did I pick this quote, the menacing eyes did not change? Because it reveals, it proves, it demonstrates Ivan's intimidating nature, right? His personality, his character trait. And the other thing is here, there's a couple of tricks to remind you of. One is the opposite technique. And I'm going to add that to this, although I don't need it. Pull a word or phrase from the quote. And this was all in your CQT notes. And then the third option is connect to the real world. Okay, and you don't have to do all of these. In fact, if you do any one of these, it's going to strengthen your tie-in. So I'm going to add the opposite technique. I have a because. By the way, pull a word or phrase from the quote. If you're reading what's on the screen, I did that right here. You can pause the video and read it again. Let's set up the opposite technique after I plug it in my computer, of course. All right, so I obviously set this up here. If he is not, right? And then we talk about the opposite. If he is not a scary person, or we could say if he is a nice person or an unassuming person, then he would not have that, what would you say, that look that does not change. And that would work, right? Typically unassuming people, well, let's add that sentence. Typically unassuming and kind people will brighten up and change their countenance. I'm not even sure how to spell that word. Oh, I spelled it right. And countenance refers to your facial expression, right? Like there's the menacing look, and then somebody says something nice and they go, oh, right? And so their countenance change. So we have the opposite. We actually pulled a word or phrase from the quote, so you're welcome to pause this video. And then unassuming and kind people, I also have the word anyone. Those kinds of pronouns will let me know that you're trying to connect to the real world. So those are some good techniques. Okay, let's wrap this video up with a couple more sentences. Your clincher, real simple. You always choose the word this, then you pick one of these words. Let's say it's consequently. Let's pick a good verb here. Let's highlight that. And then you just restate your topic sentence, all right? Real simple, real. Okay, so here's your topic sentence. I just add it right to the end with the words I chose. Consequently, always a comma after. This reveals Ivan is an intimidating character in the most dangerous game. Then we want to have paraphrasing. Always starts with here and then whoever's talking in the quote. And then we just want to restate the quote in our own words. I just want to review Ivan's dangerous expression. I'm not using the same words as the quote. That's a big common pitfall for you young writers. Remains the same, or I just thought of this, or is constant, right? So you could say it a couple different ways, but again, make sure you don't use the same words. All right, so that concludes our tie-in. And then let's just review right here. We grabbed our quote from our Steele handout. We grabbed our number 2 from our Steele handout as well. That's that last column, last column in whatever row we're working on. And then just a reminder here, make sure you have one of the tricks involved. Then we did our clincher, we did our paraphrasing. And if you were to read this one paragraph, it might sound a little bit like this. Ivan possesses an intimidating nature because he scares anyone at the door. In the story, readers find the protagonist alive and he is on Shiptrap Island. He notes bullets and boot prints. So he knows there are people on the island. He finds the house, or rather mansion. He knocks the door. He knocks on. This is why you read, right? He knocks on the door and Ivan answers with a gun pointing at his chest. The narrator explains the menacing look in the eyes of Ivan did not change. Here the narrator notes Ivan's dangerous expression remains the same, or constant. This shows Ivan is intimidating because his eyes stay fixed on the target of Rainsford. Also, the narrator uses the word quote-unquote menacing, which tells readers that Ivan's look is frightening and would threaten anyone. If he is not a scary person, then he would not have that look that does not change. Typically, unassuming and kind people will brighten up and change their countenance. Consequently, this reveals Ivan is an intimidating character in the most dangerous game. I hope this video helps. Feel free to like and subscribe. Just kidding. Hey guys, hang in there. And remember, you can do this. I really believe that. I really do. Wish you all the best. See you soon.